Welcome to the Real Life Podcast at Hermitage Hills, where we have real honest conversations with real people about topics relevant for today. At Hermitage Hills, we desire to see people experience life change through Jesus Christ. For more information about our church and how you can be a part of the community here, visit hermitagehills.com/connect.
Okay, Lincoln, we're getting ready to go. All right, you're bringing us with you. We are going on the world race. What is that? What did it look like for you?
Yeah, so the world race, went to 11 countries.
What were some of them?
Yeah, I can rattle them off.
Okay,
Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. From there, it was Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, India, Nepal, Swaziland, which is now Eswatini, Botswana, and South Africa.
Wow.
So literally, like three very different regions of the world. Super interesting story because that was my first steps following Jesus, was on this like trip that people think is so crazy.
Yes.
That was really my first steps following Christ. 100% my first steps, as an adult in Christian community. Mm-hmm. So we were about 50.
Okay.
But we were broken up into small teams. So when we get to a country, we would split off with our team and even go to different parts of the country.
Okay.
Literally living together, eating together, circling up every day and reviewing the day.
What type of things did you do in the countries?
Yeah, every country was different.
Okay.
So, the first country, we were working at an elderly daycare kind of place.
Yeah.
Second month, we were literally going around all of Nicaragua, looking for other ministries that the World Race could partner with. Costa Rica, we were working in high school. That's just an example of...
Right.
And if I went to the rest of the countries, also just very different.
Right.
Very different ministries.
What was your favorite?
Favorite country was...
I keep interrupting you, but I want to get in your business.
No, I'm happy to share.
Okay.
My favorite country was probably Thailand.
Okay. How come?
Just as far as the best experience I had. We had an amazing host. Okay. Very loving man, and was a pastor at a church. And they had us in a Thai public school, teaching English to little kids. Yeah. We didn't know anything about teaching English, but you know what I mean?
But you knew English.
Yeah,
so.
And at that point too, I was still a little bit passionate about I should try to learn the languages when I go, after 4 or 5 countries of switching language every time. It's just
that's
enough.
tricky.
But I still was trying to learn as much Thai as I could, and just had a great interactions with the kids and with the host. And I love the country. People are so nice, so kind, so welcoming. Beautiful country. Mm-hmm. It was just a great. Also, my team. Mm-hmm. We were in a great place as a team, as a unit. Was learning a lot from God. Mm-hmm. That month, and it was just overall a great experience.
Okay, so 11 countries. What did you learn about people across the world? Is there something?
Oh man, great question.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, the number one thing I just remember learning is we're not all that different.
Yeah,
we're all there's different cultures, and yes, you go to different places, and it feels very. But you get to know people, and you get to know their desires, and we all share way more similarities than we do differences.
Yeah.
And I just remember that being a huge lesson for me.
Well, when you look at, you're from Hermitage, Old Hickory, Tennessee, private Christian school, college in Tennessee. You've been in a pretty much a bubble a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so your bubble was burst on that tour, I would say.
Yeah. But yeah, what a joy to go around the world and visit different cultures and see, even from a faith perspective of, it wasn't even just, this is how different countries express their faith. 1 month we'd be in a super conservative church. The next we'd be in to the extreme Pentecostal, serving
We're
in that
dancing
context.
In the aisles.
And I just also learned we all have, we all serve the same God.
Yes.
And I do believe there's different ways to express that.
Yeah.
And each denomination, each group has strengths,
Yes.
has weaknesses.
Sure.
And I just, like, one, I think, trend that started at that time was, like, looking at every angle of faith, every denomination, and just, what can I learn from this group, or from this even train of thought?
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, you know, there'll always be things I don't agree with, but there'll also be things like, man, that's a good point. And just being open to that. And I feel like starting from that time, like trying to put together, if we talked about theology, you'd find I have a very, on my own, I don't fall in line with any group, but I think it's because it's all been formed through so many different experiences and contexts and people.
And I think that we can agree, just listening to your story thus far, that experiences that God has led you to.
Yes, definitely.
You know?
I mean, yeah. Everything, again, hindsight's 20/20.
Right.
Every step has been leading up to where what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? Like, and what even is ahead from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we're gonna talk about that, because I know that I do remember one part of your race, though. I'm in life group with your mom and dad.
Okay.
And I remember there was one part where you got sick, right? You went to the hospital.
Yeah.
I remember praying for you.
Yeah. Okay.
While you were there.
Thank you.
well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you had adventures for sure on that. So let's move ahead now to Elevate Ethiopia. Okay. So, to fill you guys in with our guest Lincoln, we didn't just bring Lincoln in to talk to him because he has an amazing story, right? But Lincoln is actually the founder of something called Elevate Ethiopia. It's something that our church partners with, but because I'm a little bit nosy, I wanted to know more about it. And so tell us now how you went from the Amazing Race, or not the Amazing Race, the World Race. The Amazing Race, that's a TV show, and you were not on it.
No.
But from the World Race to developing Elevate Ethiopia.
Yeah. So after the World Race, that was 2014, wanted to do a quote-unquote long-term mission next, because as great as the World Race was, every month, like jumping from country to country, about the time you start building relationships, like
there you go,
you're moving on.
Right.
And I just wanted a little bit of stability, something more long-term, quote unquote. Thinking And
okay, so remember that, y'all. Long-term is 1 year. Okay, go on.
So but I didn't feel like a leading in any particular. I felt like that was the next step, but I didn't feel a leading in any particular direction. Like, should I go back to Thailand? Should I consider somewhere completely new? And this opportunity came up. Lauren, this friend that you remember now from I
feel like we need to get Lauren in here at some point.
Maybe. So she was living in Ethiopia now, working with Ordinary Hero, the group I had been with, and we just got to talking. She's like, well, we could really use help over here. And it wasn't just like this leading there. I just said, you know what, that seems like a good fit. Like, I already know the place.
Right.
I have a friend there who helped me get adapted to like living there.
Right.
Already have other relationships there. So it just, I know the organization, know the work. So it just felt like a good fit, logically.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, like, that'll be next step. So after the World Race, we spent a few months at home. Then I moved to Ethiopia. This is January 2015.
And this is 2021, almost 2022, and you're only in Ethiopia for 1 year.
Yeah, so coming up next month will be like 7 years since I moved to Ethiopia. And as you can see, the 1 year plan did not quite.
I'm an English major, but even I can do that math.
So I served with Ordinary Hero during that time for a year and a half.
And what did you do?
So Ordinary Hero, what they do is they partner with different local ministries.
Okay.
So they don't have like necessarily a program themselves, but they partner with programs that already exist. And so a lot of what they do is just identifying the poorest families in these different communities and helping them with food support. And so my job was just kind of to be the middleman between the Ethiopia side and the American side, like just really, servant work, helping a lot with cross-cultural communication, explaining the different sides to each other, but also like helping register new families, doing sponsorship programs, with sponsorship updates, and in my free time, I was going around. Usually, that worked about half my day, and the other half of my day, I was just going around. There was about 5 or 6 ministries that I would just visit. A lot of them were orphanages, and I would just go and spend time with the kids. And it was like every Monday I'd be at this place, and Tuesday I'd be at this place, and I had this kind of routine. And I would say it was in that time that the passion grabbed me.
Yes.
Of working with the kids, working with these kids. One part, I've never felt called to Ethiopia.
Yeah.
I still don't feel like I have a calling to Ethiopia. I have a calling to this ministry of working with kids and youth, I believe, young adults, but I don't feel like my calling is on the place, but it was through those relationships.
Yes.
That is how I really started to fall in love with Ethiopia. I do love Ethiopia, but beyond that, it's the relationships.
Right.
That still to this day is that main thing that keeps me, that's where I want to be.
And I think that that's so telling, because as we look at, for example, missions, and we look at ministry under the concept of missions, we can look at it as doing something. I'm going to go and I'm going to help with food. I'm going to go and I'm going to help with this.
Yeah.
It's the relationship there.
Yes.
And that's where the change comes.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you're hitting on my whole theory is that transformation comes through relationship.
100%. I'm with you.
And that segues nicely
Yes.
into, I started to learn that lesson during my time there.
Okay.
That you can serve, you can do things for people, but that wasn't always bringing the transformation that I so deeply wanted to see in their lives. But what was the relationship. And I remember in one of the projects we worked in, I started a Bible study.
Yeah.
And literally, I told the kids, it was from kids up to teenagers, even a few young adults. I said, this Bible study is going to be for 1 year. After 1 year, we're done.
Okay.
It is not a continuous thing, but for 1 year. And actually, it's funny. We started with it's probably about 16 guys and 3 girls.
Yeah.
As time went on, that totally flipped. By the end, we had 3 or 4 guys who stuck around.
Yeah.
And we were loaded with girls. 20 girls. But the Bible study, I wasn't, without getting into it, Ethiopia is a very interesting religious context.
I was getting ready to ask that.
Where it's actually the oldest, I think the longest lasting Christian nation in the world.
Okay.
It became a Christian nation in I think it was around 350, about the same time as Rome. And except the difference is they stayed Christian as literally as the government state religion.
Right.
Until the 1970s.
Okay.
I believe.
All right.
You're more than 1,500 years.
Right.
Of being a
Christian.
Official Christian nation, and that was all the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Okay.
Which is a very unique and special form of Christianity that has many unique aspects to it that other forms
other forms of Christianity
don't have. So. But it's actually, there's also Islam there, but actually Christians and Muslims have good relations.
Okay.
But if you get into Protestants and Orthodox,
okay,
it gets a little bit. So you have to be really sensitive,
right?
Even though you're teaching to Christians,
right?
You have to kind of be sensitive on
that.
So we focused a lot on character things.
Yes.
I mean, we were teaching the Bible,
right?
But it was more of I was kind of combining the Bible and life skills.
Yes.
Together.
Yes.
Where it's just how.
Which actually is not a bad plan.
Yeah. Which is in discipleship.
Exactly.
Is another word for it.
That's a word we might know.
Yeah. And so but that year, the transformation we saw in those kids was just incredible. And the change in their lifestyle, in their desires, their mindset. I mean, just everything. And I started to really see, and yes, that was through the Word of God, but it was also through the relationship.
Sure.
That we were coming every week.
Of course.
Discussing, because it wasn't just like one person teaching, there's a lot of discussion. And so I started to see like, man, this relationship piece is huge. Mm-hmm. And then I found another project at that time called Children's Haven. And it was interesting. Their program, they were supporting girls mm-hmm. in their community, mostly teenagers. And when I first visited them, when you kind of saw them, for the context, they kind of seemed like middle-class kids. They carried mm-hmm. themselves with confidence. Mm-hmm. They were wearing like nice, mm-hmm. clean clothes. They were like confident
right.
and respectful. You know what I mean? Like right. some of the things that in some of the other programs.
Sure.
And I was like, man, like what? And these kids are like, and I started hearing their stories and the condition they were in. This project wasn't like giving them like physical support, like food support,
right.
Anything like that. And these girls were living in like really, really tough conditions. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of the toughest that I had come across there. And, but it was all through relationship. Mm-hmm. The girls were coming to the center 4 days a week, 5 days a week.
Yes.
Spending time, relationship, not just even between the staff and the kids, but the kids and each other.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when this theory started to form. I said, this is the key.
Right.
It's this relationship that makes this program so powerful.
Right.
And so transformative. Mm-hmm. And so, long story short, actually, I left Ethiopia for 2 years.
Yeah.
Went to Fuller Theological Seminary.
Okay.
Got my master's degree in intercultural studies. Was a very interesting going to seminary. It was a very dry season.
Yeah.
But
that's
then,
in California, right?
In California, in Los Angeles, in Pasadena.
Yeah.
But then I did come back to Ethiopia pretty much directly following that. And I started working for Children's Haven.
Okay.
So worked there for almost a full year. Without going into a lot of detail, is that the relationship did not end well between me and that organization. A lot of pain and heartbreak in that season of moving out. But about that time, getting into Elevate now.
All right.
This is a precursor.
I know. So tell us
Elevate.
then. Tell us about Elevate.
I had this vision to work with youth,
yes,
young adults. But, also I've seen the whole time, like, if you don't work on the family, mm-hmm. whatever work you want to do with the youth will be in vain. You have to work with the whole family unit. And so I had this vision to work in this way. And I had a friend who I knew through another organization. Her name was Ebenezer. And she was the director of this other organization. And that organization, for financial reasons, was shutting down, mm-hmm. which was sad. But at the same time, I was like,
it's an opportunity.
Like literally when I heard the news, I was like, Ebenezer, let's meet up.
Yeah.
And so we started having this discussion of like, hey, what if we co-founded mm-hmm. an organization together? Mm-hmm. And so we kind of put ourselves to the test. We went separate ways. We typed up like a proposal for an organization. Mm-hmm. If we did start an organization, what kind of organization? What would the programs look like?
Right.
What would this policy like? Right. To the detail.
Right.
And it was let's come together and compare.
You don't even have to finish at this point. You don't even have to finish. They were the same.
They were the same.
I knew it.
Absolutely the same.
I knew it.
And so that's when we decided, okay, let's go in this together. So Elevate Ethiopia, we got off the ground 10 months ago.
Okay.
So we kind of work in two neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. One is a bit more urban, mm-hmm. And one is on the edge of the city. So we're
what city are you in?
We're in Addis Ababa,
okay,
which is the capital of the country. Very big city, very international city.
Okay.
Very population dense.
Yeah.
So we work in kind of two communities within
mm-hmm.
the city. One is urban, mm-hmm. which is like where our office is. So the homes and the neighborhoods directly surrounding our office. The other one is just like right on the edge of the city, not far.
Right.
It's like one taxi away,
Right.
one minibus away, and but it's a little bit more rural.
Okay.
It's on the edge of the city. It's a bit rural. So we work with these two. So we work with the local government to try to identify who are the poorest families in these communities. And so they help us identify, we do our own background research with the families. And then once they're in our program, it's a full family empowerment program. So we work to empower the full family through economic empowerment for the parents. So that looks like kind of like helping them start their own micro businesses.
Right.
And when I say micro business,
Right.
I mean micro business, right?
Right. Selling vegetables.
Yeah. Selling vegetables, selling injera, which is like the local bread, is common. I mean, just little, informal kind of businesses, but that allows them to have an income.
Yes.
If they work hard, that becomes enough for them. They can grow it.
And esteem.
that becomes, yes.
Respect. Self-respect. All that.
It's very important to, push them towards standing on their own.
Of course.
They know you have the strength to do this
Yeah.
On your own. We're with you.
Sometimes just having somebody believe in you too and show you how. I mean,
I got stories about that.
That's I think we might have to have 87 podcasts. I mean, but that's a cross-cultural thing as well.
Yeah. And again, it's all about relationship. And I remember one of the moms, probably the mother, the family that came in the most difficult of circumstances. She kind of disappeared on us for a few weeks, even when we do give some food support.
Sure, yeah.
And when she didn't come to like pick up, so we're like, man, what's going on? So we sent our social worker and our education coordinator out into the community to find her, and they found her. And when they found her, she just like broke down crying.
Yeah.
And they said, what's wrong? It's like, no, nothing's wrong. You guys have no idea what it means that like just somebody is looking for me. That like so many times, even the reason families, in the West, we tend to think of poverty in such material terms.
Right.
And, therefore, we often make a material response.
Sure.
But again, poverty, if the key to transformation is relationship, oftentimes relationship is if not the main factor that leads to even what leads to so much physical poverty. A lot of these women, Ethiopia is a very communal culture. Like, you take care of your family, so if somebody's in these kind of conditions, most of them are single moms, but most of them, like, they just don't feel like they have anybody. Yeah. So for somebody to come behind them, to believe in them, and just to say like, hey, we're with you. Like, we're behind you.
Yeah.
Just that's probably on its own, whatever else I say from here, that on its own is like the most powerful piece of our program is the community, the relationship, the belongingness. And just like that, both the parents and the kids know like, hey, we believe in you guys. Like, so, yeah.
It almost feels like a spiritual moment right now in here, doesn't it? I mean, it's just that's. I think that's God. I mean, that I'm here for you. I love you all, and I've given you community. I mean, that's what we're called to as well, community. So, well, so let me ask you this then, Lincoln. And in closing, Elevate Ethiopia, 10 months. It's been going on. What do you envision for it?
Yeah. Well, quickly, I'll add our program for the youth, too. Because that's just one that with the parents. Yes. But with the kids, we work, actually, a lot of our focus is on the kids. Yeah. And that's through education. So the kids go to the local public schools, but they come to us after school for tutoring. Good. There's even a space to do their homework. I mean, that's big for them. And then also psychosocial support, or we also say like mentorship, which is like we do a lot of life skill teaching, counseling, which again, that's also another way of saying discipleship. We do teach Bible stories, but again, we make it character based. And so really, we're just trying to set them on a good path, to,
Right.
help, to have them believe in themselves.
Right.
To not only that they can succeed themselves, but they can go on to be a positive impactor
For others.
in their surroundings
Yes.
and for others. Yeah. So that's the program. So in the future, what we envision, I mean, really the focus is on these kids.
Yeah.
Right now there's 20 kids in the program from 15 families. Just in a couple months, we'll be adding, I think, 10 more families, which will probably include about 15 more kids. So, we'll continue to grow. In the future, too, like, I think we want it to not just be only in Addis, the need in Addis is great, but if you get outside of Addis into the more rural areas or the smaller towns, you find even a greater need. And you find so much potential there.
Sure.
The kids, one of the reasons I love working with Ethiopian youth is, just the talent and the potential that they possess is just so incredible, and just to bring out that potential. So, we want to expand, and I don't think we want to be this like massive organization,
right?
But at least to have a few centers in the long term.
Right.
Right now, we're focusing on the responsibility that God's given us.
Yeah.
So growing,
Yeah.
going wider, but
Right.
also going deeper.
And that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going deeper. Well, Lincoln, this has been great. I have enjoyed your story. I have enjoyed, just like the lessons that you've pulled out of it, and the way that God just never lets you go. And now what God is doing through you and through Ebenezer and through the community that you're in. I think that the lesson is that, you said it earlier, we're just not all that different, are we?
Yeah.
We're just not all that different. So, hey, thank you for spending some time with us and sharing all of that.
Yeah. I also want to say thank you to Hermitage Hills.
Yeah.
Hermitage Hills has been such an incredible supporter for Elevate so far, not just through financial partnership, which you guys are doing, but also, just being supportive on every step of the way.
Yeah.
Encouraging. And whenever I'm here, like letting me use other resources and all those things. So, and anyone that gives to one fund,
yes.
The support that comes to us is through one fund.
Yeah.
So even without knowing it, you're already supporting Elevate. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And hey, thank you guys for joining in. I will tell you, Lincoln mentioned one fund, so we are supporting Elevate Ethiopia. And if you would like to come on board as well, we will have information on how to contact his group linked to this podcast. And I don't think it'll turn you away. So next time we will have another real life experience here, and it may be Pastor Poley and it may be me. Who knows? So we look forward to seeing you next time, and have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Real Life, a ministry of Hermitage Hills. If you'd like to be a part of a community seeking to follow Jesus and experience life change, visit us at hermitageHills.com/connect. You'll also find ways to ask for prayer and how to take the next steps in your faith journey. We'd love to partner with you as you grow in your faith and experience real life.